why most people relapse and how to avoid it. And before I get into that, I want to share that the experiences I share on this channel are just that, my experiences from being in addiction, being in recovery, and being a counselor. My experience ain't the only experience that's out there, and there's different perspectives on how to avoid relapse, how to stay sober, and there's just a lot of different ways of doing it. And this is the way I did it. I'm actually part of a fellowship, but I tend not to talk much about that because each fellowship, like the anonymous ones, are just that, anonymous. So I tend to keep that out of my videos, but do know that I'm part of a fellowship that helped me stay sober. But I like to just share my experiences with everyone here because I feel I have a lot of information to give, and I wanted to give it to as many people, much people as possible. And I have people now that's reaching out, just telling me I'm doing the right thing, and it feels good to know that I'm reaching these folks in these different areas. Because I'm in Southern California, you may be watching it somewhere far away from there, but you're able to get this information, hopefully, and it's able to help you. But why most people relapse and how to avoid it. People tend not to change their surroundings. When I seen, just my own experience, my first time around, I didn't get it my first time. I got the information. I listened to my counselor. I listened to my sponsor, my life coach, and I stayed sober like 6 months, and I went back out there to touch that fire again. And my reasoning for that is I didn't truly believe I was an alcoholic. The things they was telling me sounded good and it could work for them, but I was like, no, that's not me. And I believe I can control it still at that time, and went out there, found out I couldn't. And much more of that story will be shared. I tend to share my story in pieces, but one day I'm just gonna give my whole story, like, boom, this is how I grew up and this is who I became, but how to avoid a relapse. So once you enter sobriety, meaning, your first 30 days, what you want to do is stop hanging around the people you got high with. I think that's a given, right? To avoid them at all costs, because ultimately, if I don't, I most likely will fall right back into addiction. Statistically, if I hang out with 4 people who are smoking meth, I will be the 5th, more than likely. You won't be the 5th to go to college, but then you can twist that though. If you hang out with 4 people who are sober, you'll be the 5th to stay sober, because those 4 people are going to teach you how to stay sober. Just like when you was in your addiction, somebody taught you how to get high. So, environment. Stop going to the neighborhood that you grew up, that you ran amok. You may not even grow up there, but you ran amok as far as addiction. Stop going there. There's nothing there for you. And if you go in there just to see how somebody doing, subconsciously, you're probably thinking about getting high, and you probably will. And many different people in my life, I see them do that. End up going over there. I just wanted to see how my friend was doing. I ain't seen them in a little while. I want to show them that I'm doing well. And they go over there, and these people start getting high in front of them. They ultimately have a pipe in their mouth, a bottle in their mouth, right back down, like smack down. So definitely environment, avoid that. Feelings. See, when we was in our addiction, we stacked on a lot of trauma on top of our trauma we probably was already running from. With myself, I just shared this with a couple of my clients, and I was like, initially, playing varsity for high school as far as basketball, I did pretty well. I was a good basketball player, and I gave that up for the street life and for addiction, ultimately. So that right there made me feel different than most, because why friends I played basketball with, friends I went to school with, they was doing what they were supposed to do as far as college and having a family. I was running the streets, and that became my life. So when I was seeing that, I was feel like my life wasn't going in the right direction, and getting high helped me feel better about that. So ultimately, I started to stack on more of that past regret, and as past regret kept going, kept happening, I kept getting high. So ultimately, past regrets. How can you deal with the past? Ultimately, we can't change it. No matter what we do. And if you find out how to change the past, please let me know. There's some things I want to change. But so how do we deal with it? We stopped running from what we was running from as far as who we weren't being, what we wasn't doing. The children wasn't taken care of. A lot of things we weren't doing in our lives, being there for our loved ones. So we start to be there for them, and we start to heal from our past mistakes. Seeking professional help is not a bad thing. From therapy, counseling, pastor, whatever helps you, so you can deal with those feelings and move forward, please do so, because if you keep it inside, it's going to come out in the worst way. And that's sometimes addiction or even worse. So definitely dealing with past regrets. So those are just some of the things I feel people should avoid to avoid a relapse. Those things stacked up together and we don't take care of it properly, we'll constantly stay in this circle of addiction, and there's other things that's involved with addiction. Those are just some of the main ones I can name. But once again, I also want to thank everybody for listening to me and taking the time. Any questions you may have about addiction, recovery, or whatever, please don't hesitate to ask me. Comment. I talk back. I will not leave you hanging. Whatever you're going through, I understand it. Just know that you're not the only one going through it. And there was many people, that's going through the exact same thing you're going through. I remember at one point in time, I felt like my situation was the only situation until I sat in a room full of people that was talking about addiction, and I realized I was not the only one. Not only I was not the only one, my story wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, but at the end of the day, it still was my story, and I felt bad about it, and where it took me, it took me. So wherever your story is taking you, just know that it doesn't have to take you there no more. There is help. So let's get the help, and let's move forward. Thank you for listening to me. This is Breaking Chains with Aiden. Thank you.